All right, folks, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Notice of this meeting was given by sending sufficient notice herewith to the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the Jersey Journal, and the Bergen County Record, filing advance written notice of this meeting with the clerk administrator of each member, and posting a copy of the meeting notice on the public bulletin board of all members. I direct the secretary to enter into the minutes of this meeting the advance written notice of this meeting and this statement. Roll call, please, Glenn.
Commissioner Bellino.
Here.
Commissioner Drulis.
Here.
Commissioner Zanga.
Here.
Commissioner Delgado.
Here.
Barbara Murphy.
Here.
Glenn Kurtz. Leon Sokol.
By phone.
Here.
Scott Recant.
Here.
Joe Manzo.
Here.
Donna Setzer. James Gote.
Here.
Jonathan Jaffe. Sean Kelly. Bob.
Came over Dominic's now.
Bob is here. Robin Rassiopi. Karen Waters. Sean Walsh.
By phone.
Here.
Also present is Michaeline. And I'm sorry,
So Cindy.
Cindy, that's right. With New Jersey Risk Managers.
I was going to have, folks introduce themselves in a minute, but first I wanted to thank you. It's the first in-person meeting that we've had in a long time, so I'm really delighted that we had the privilege and the honor to be the first ones to hold that meeting, so I look forward to many more to come. At this point, if I may have you individually introduce yourselves. If you don't mind, can we start here, Mr. Gate?
Sure. James Yote, Scotland Environmental. We provide the JIF clients with safety, health, and risk management assistance.
Bob Gemmel with Brown & Brown. We're the risk manager for South River.
Karen Waters, Insurance, and Risk Manager for the City of New Brunswick.
Cindy Villagrad with the Jersey Risk Managers and Clark Murphy.
Michaeline Miller with Risk and Risk Management.
Thank you very much and welcome. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of January 10th, 2024 reorganization and closed session meeting minutes. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Joe. Sanga, second.
Second.
That was Frank.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, you're going to take a roll call?
Whatever your pleasure, sure.
Take a roll call.
Okay,
That's not
Commissioner
changed.
Bellino.
Yes.
Commissioner Drulis.
Yes.
Commissioner Zanga.
Yes.
And Commissioner Delgado.
Yes. I don't want to change the rules in the middle of the game, so. All right, so at this point, we'll have the executive director's report.
All right, a couple of things for our report. The first thing is the resolution 2024-15. That's an amended cash management plan. If you recall, we did the cash management plan at our reorg meeting. However, the cash management plan that we adopted was missing a section of it that talked about, basically, it's who can authorize check signing for both the investment accounts as well as the claims and the operating account. Mike, I think it's, where's Mike's? It's not in the agenda, it was.
Here it is. Thank you.
Yeah, I have it, I just know that he was looking for it.
Oh.
So what we want to do is make sure that we recognize who has check signing authority. One of the things, and Joe was on the phone, there's one account that he was the only authorized signer, which is really just not, it's not good business practice to only have one person. God forbid anything happens or we needed to do something and he wasn't available. So we're requesting that we adopt this and it will replace the one that we did in January. It also does reference, there are two accounts that we have some monies in that are considered investment accounts. Not a lot of money in them, so I think the goal between Glenn, myself, and Joe is to close those out at some point. There's about $31,000, correct? In those
Yeah,
accounts.
one is 25 and change, and the other is another 6 or something.
It's obviously at one point had more money in it, but due to the low limit, we can either keep them there, quite honestly, or we can close them out, and then when we're ready to do some serious investing, we can open other accounts where we decide to invest money.
I sense that your recommendation is to close them.
Yeah, I would close it. I think the money can be used to.
Yeah, we're gonna wait till, they're basically CDs, and we're gonna wait till
Wait
the
till they
maturity
mature.
dates, and then close.
Thank you, Joe.
Well,
So we would need a motion in a second too.
Questions?
Yes.
From the chair, please.
Do we need the motion first, or?
No, you can
Go
ask
ahead.
them.
So can you just draw our attention to where the changes on page 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the cash management plan? Or
So
5 or
what you
6?
have, if you look at page 2,
Okay,
you'll see Freehold Bank and United on there, right in the middle of the, kind of towards the top middle,
thank you.
right?
And
And
everything-
then if you look really kind of starting with page 4, you really kind of go into who can sign, you have the treasurer. We call him the CFO here, so that's why we have treasurer/CFO. You know, Dobie back in the late 90s came up with the cash management plan, and they've kind of modified it once or twice over the last several years. So this is an annual resolution, so we'll start to do this in the full form every January. So this is really the page where you're gonna see the big difference, page 4, where you'll see who has check signing authority. It's any 2 people. You can use facsimile, and Harry, I know Joe has your facsimile
Yes, he
signature,
does.
which is fine. And then he signs in an original signature. So it's not like 2 facsimiles, and you're the only one that has the facsimile.
Thank you.
On page 4, item 11, letter B, under authorized signatures verification, number 4. Just looking at this for the first time, I apologize, can you
No,
explain
that's-
what that is?
What we do in most, well, all of our other funds is for the weekly, bi-weekly, however often you do it, claims payments where we fund the money from the operating account to the claims account. My office has authority, limited authority. So, for example, it could be Cindy, it could be my finance person has the ability to fund that, move the money from the operating account into the claims account. And that's why it's called limited, because they can't sign checks, but they can wire money for the payment of claims.
Would you be identifying that person to the commissioners at some point? So
Yeah,
that
we
we
can,
know
when
who
we
that
get
is?
there. Right now, we really don't do
Yeah.
it because Joe's handling it.
Okay,
Most of the other funds, the administrator or executive director's office actually handles that function. So we're a little bit different here, which is fine, but when we get to that point, we will.
we like to think we're special.
Yes, we are very special. There's all kinds of special.
Yeah, we'll leave it at special. And the other question I have for you, just kind of left my mind as we were talking about special order. So, that's it.
We can go back to it. All right, so at this point, are there any other questions before we entertain a motion to adopt?
Motion, Joe.
Second.
Frank? Commissioner Bellino?
Yes.
Commissioner Drulis?
Yes.
Commissioner Zanga?
Yes.
Commissioner Delarado?
Yes.
Financial statement update, just wanted to let everybody know, we are working towards producing monthly financial statements. The goal is to provide them to the group monthly. We do a financial fast track, which is kind of an unaudited summary of all years combined. I personally think it's very important that monthly financial statements are done, and we do them for all funds. Joe Monzo put me in touch with the gentleman who helps him with his general ledger, and I had my IT guys talk to Joe Buck, who happens to be the gentleman's name, and they've exchanged some data, so hopefully that's in progress. Glenn's working on getting the information prior to, I think, 2013, so that we can, the goal is to load as much historical information as we can, recognizing that we may need to be a little flexible in that. Obviously, we have audited numbers, so there will be true totals in there, but the more detail we can get, the more it just helps futuristically in trying to produce different financials, do different trending and all that kind of stuff. So that's in progress, and I'm hoping to get that pushed along in the next couple of weeks and get this going so we can show you guys, the financial statement, so regularly, so we understand where we are. And it's unaudited, but still, it's usually pretty solid.
And that's the software that the rest of your funds use?
Yeah, it'll be in this same software. 2024 coverage manual, that's the other thing that we're working on. We have the policies for 2024. We're working on doing our own. What we typically do is what we call a memorandum of coverages, or we name it MOC, which is basically our underlying documents for us as the fund, and then where we go with the carrier policies. So it's, not overburdensome, but again, we think it's a good idea for everybody to have a coverage doc. RMCs like it, tells them what coverages they have or don't have, limits, etc. So that's the other thing that we're really working on. So that's moving along. We need another day or two. So it'll be deck pages, so you'll get your own, you'll have your own coverage docs that you can share, and the Record Retentions Act wants you to keep them for 99 years, so you can start a collection. So those are the major things that we're working on when, we get into Glenn's report. We have a lot of, financial stuff that we will be discussing. So I don't know if you want to just move right along.
Jump right in? Okay, thank you. With respects to the 2022 audit update, I've been working with Patty and Lauren over at HFA. I've been told I will have a firm draft audit to circulate to the board by next week for their review. I got a rough draft from them this morning.
Just balance sheet.
Of the balance sheet, I'm sorry, yeah, with respects to the current position of the JIF, in reviewing the numbers, and it was sent to Joe to see if he concurs or has any suggested changes with respects to entity entries, so he's reviewing it as well. But it appears, based on a review of the balance sheet, we did see an improvement in the deficit years of about $1.7 million, so that is a movement in the right direction.
I did talk to Patty, Glenn, after you sent that to me, and she sent me a more detailed trial balance so that I could figure out the adjustments that she had. She had some minor adjustments to some of the receivables, because some of our receivables are net of credit balances that we have for some members. So she's pulling those out and making them a payable, and then so the receivable will be just gross amounts that are due directly to us as opposed to being netted against credit. And that's basically it. So I'm ready to go. When she tells me this is the year-end trial balance, I'll be able to post it to our GL and then produce 2023 information immediately. There's only 3 journal entries she has from what I have given her to what is being presented here.
Chairman, this is Lincoln. Question I have about the 2022 audit, coordinated to the actuaries. Glenn, if you know, to what extent will the IBNR for the 2020 audit, supplemental assessment, be adjusted for adjustments in the IBNR? I know that last year they said they were going to reduce it from 27 million to 25 million, and I didn't know whether there was any subsequent information based upon the actual assessment of the claims history.
Well, the deficit is driven by both case reserves and the IBNR number, Leon. The IBNR as of 12/31/22 is is gonna be,
Just under 13 million.
yeah, just under 13 million, or 12,500,000, just under 13 million. So there was an improvement in the IBNR number for those previous years.
What's of interest when you look at the draft document, there's a $742,000 decrease in case reserves in IBNR 2022 as compared to 2021. What the split is by year from 2020 back and then 21, 22, I don't have that detail yet, but there is a total drop between, there was some money changing. So it'd be interesting to see when we have all the detail, how much of that 742 decrease is related to the oldest years, 2020 prior, how much is 21 and how much is 2022. So if you think about it, you've added another year on and your number's down 742,000 combined for case reserve and IBNR. What is of some concern, at least my concern, is when you look at after they book the deficit, we're still 4 million in the hole. So we need to get the actual backup that get us to this page so we can see what they're seeing. We do know that 2021 was not trending well at the end of 21, and you did the supplemental assessment, which is reflected in here in the balance sheet. So you accrued the revenue in 21's financials. So while this is good, it doesn't give you, it almost brings up more questions than answers. Because you need the rest of the document to really
22, I think we had to pay late in 22, right? So 23 might look better than 22 with the supplemental assessments over 7 years, right?
Well, the whole
Deficit
receivable is booked, yeah.
The deficit was booked,
Okay.
and it looks
That's
like
still
some
$4
people
million
paid against it.
Still $4 million
Yes,
deficit.
that's why I'm saying, and if you look
It's
at 21,
2021 that we
if you
did
look
it's
at,
that.
28,
yeah,
I know.
if you look at 2021 at 12 months, it was 2 million, 2.4 in the hole. Considering this entry didn't improve that.
That's what I'm saying,
to
that's
zero.
not, that doesn't
Right.
look good in 22.
Yeah.
So,
Well, hopefully
22
22 is solid and it's
And then
21.
It's 2021,
that's
it's
trending.
the trend, yeah.
how
But
about we,
again, until we get the rest of the docs,
Yeah, you
it's
don't
hard
know,
to.
yeah. How about we ask HFA to look at 23 quicker?
They
so
should
that
be
we
able to.
statutory are compliant.
Because as we discussed, they do a lot, one of the things the auditors do is put a lot of post-closing work until they produce their report. So considering we're so far in, we're 2 months into 24,
Yep.
their post-closing work should have been fairly extensive.
Yeah, because statutorily, we want to be in compliant
Right,
soon with the
Yeah,
audit.
absolutely.
So,
yeah.
The,
Yeah.
as soon as she gets her final draft to Joe and he posts any journal adjustments, she should be able to turn around and do the 23 very
Okay.
quickly.
Good.
Leon, did you have a question?
What?
Cece, Leon?
Leon, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Glenn said that the revised IBNR was at 12 million. The original assessment, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the original assessment that we did in August 2022, of the 27 million, the IBNR was 10 million. And now if it's at 12 million, it's gone up by 2 million instead of down. And that's the part that's confusing me.
Yeah, I don't know if that's correct, Leon, because she does a comparative report. As of 12/31/2021, the IBNR was 17 million, and it's down to 12,500,000. So I'll have to take a look at the 10 million number you're referencing. As far as the
I know they
IBNR,
have it reversed in my mind, and that the claims were 10 and the IBNR 17.
that could have been.
But anyway, just if you could clarify that, for me, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
To the chair, questions? So we have a draft and there's more to be done.
This is a
So I suggest we just,
untested draft from
we just stop there and we wait for everything to come together because there's a lot more questions and that's good.
Yeah.
So let's just draw back a little bit and talk about schedule, please. Where to Commissioner Zanga's point, Last audit, we took a couple runs at it to get it right. And I understand the time's of the essence, but we're so close to getting this done. What are lessons learned from the last audit so that we're double checking, triple checking ourselves, we're testing ourselves? What's the timeline to do that correctly? And then, once we establish what that is that our next meeting? Is that 2 meetings from now? Then how quickly after that is it reasonable to get up to 2023, which will have taken this maybe 3-year-long process to its positive conclusion, right? So we're close to the finish line, we're doing it right, but I would hate to miss something and then have another 4-month diversion. So, thoughts?
If, my discussion with Lauren this morning was I will have a firm drafted audit by the end of next week.
From her.
From her. That I'm not circulating, that I review it, Barbara reviews it, and Joe reviews it, so.
When do our friends from Dobie, hold on a second, Joe, I'm sorry. When do our friends from Dobie get to review it? When does Sean Walsh get to review it?
I will keep Sean in the loop, reviewing it with us as well, so he'll have it at the same time frame, the draft.
Will we have the benefit?
He's CC'd on everything.
Will we have the benefit of his thinking?
Mike, this is Sean. Glenn, this is Sean, if I may jump in for a second. Yeah, the HFA chairs keep on top of the audit, once the board does. When Patty gets the draft out, she shares it with me generally the same time Glenn does. So the time that Glenn and Joe are reviewing it, I'll likely be reviewing it at the exact same time.
So when it's presented to this body, will all of the professionals have weighed in, double checked, right? And, okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we'll
I don't
have
wanna go
our
down
own
that road.
conference call.
So what's the expectation of that time? It's a lot of important people to look at this thing, right? So what's an expectation of the time?
Well, after they get their draft done, they go through their internal review process, which is usually what, Joe, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
So, once it comes out of their internal review, if we're still before the March meeting, we would have a draft to present to the board at the March meeting, so.
So then,
And the next week is what, the 7th?
yeah,
Yeah, Friday.
So,
that's gonna be tight,
it's gonna be close.
right? And this is an important fund year, given the changes and the turnarounds, et cetera. So if we don't make that March meeting, is April almost assured, provided there's no material changes?
I would think Dobie wants it by April the latest, and Sean will probably chime in and say he wants it by March, but
No,
it's
a
gotta
lot
be
of-
right.
A lot of things we want, Glenn. I've learned the hard way to always get disappointment. But, so if
So
April.
can I just
Yes.
ask a question? So are you saying she's gonna get it to us next week?
She's gonna have.
And then she needs 2 more weeks?
She's gonna have the financial statements to me next week, which is the full,
So then I would say we're talking.
it's not gonna be the written report.
We're talking April.
We're talking
For
April, right?
presentation. To
With-
you guys?
Yes.
April.
April, and I think at that point it will have been thoroughly reviewed.
It should be signed, sealed, and ready to be delivered.
So if the commissioners then, do we have the opportunity to review it and then vote in the same meeting, or do we get it and then it has to then, do we have to sit with it?
We should get it earlier.
I think if we go with April, you should have an
Yeah,
opportunity,
you should be able to get it.
like maybe a week.
A week.
Well, what is a reasonable expectation from other funds for us to have it, to review it, to vote on it?
Honestly,
That's all I'm asking for.
It's just qualifying just this statement or all of this?
they actually, the only thing that you're certifying is that you read the last page. I mean,
That's why I'm
being
asking the
serious.
question.
It says, all you're certifying is that you read the last page, and, you know, that last page
Yolanda.
usually says none. You know, it's recommendations, and it's none, and no any. That's all you have to read, technically, to approve. But I would say, so most, you know, I have members that look at it and ask questions, and they wanna know how things trend and how it compares to years. So some do that in this kind of, in a general meeting, and some will shoot me an email and say, hey, you know, what went on in 2020 doesn't look. Once you start to see the financial fast track, and you see that regularly, you're, I guess, surprised at an audit isn't there, because you have a general idea of where things are. on a monthly, quarterly basis, even though it's unaudited, it's pretty solid. So the questions that, right Bob? The questions at audit presentation are pretty low.
All right, so when is our April meeting scheduled? Supposed to be? I don't-
It's for the 24th, but I was gonna actually talk to you guys about, I have a conflict that day.
Okay, so let's just use that number as a, right?
24th.
So then is it reasonable for us to get that audit 2 weeks before? Because we're extra credit people, we like to do the extra work and, you know. So is it reasonable for 2 weeks, and if it's not, we'd have some version thereof close, right?
Yeah, I don't want to definitely, if we're gonna get it on the 8th.
No, it's kind of one of those things that's like the question's pretty much leading.
Yeah, I
We're gonna
think
need it 2
2
weeks,
weeks, yeah.
right? And then once we get to that point, if we
And then there'll
adopt
be a
it at the
test.
April meeting, every day, right? After we get to the April meeting, then what is our expectation of our auditors to then turn around the next document from your experiences? Quickly is a relative term.
Yes, it is. I think we need to talk to them and, because part of it is a lot of the easy legwork should be done
Right.
because of the time lag in the 22 to the.
So as quickly, is that 2 months?
I guess what I need to get a handle on with them is the internal process that they go through.
Okay.
You're saying she needs 2 more weeks. The relationships that I have with the other auditors, it's, you know, it's all kind of being done simultaneously.
I could see
It's
that.
not, let's do this, and then now let's go do this.
Right.
It's all kind of happening, you know, so the 2 weeks is a consistent rolling of 2 weeks. It's not, okay, well, we'll do this for 2 weeks, now we'll go do this. So let's have a conversation with her
Okay.
before she hands us the document and.
I would think, you know, this is their second one. After doing the second one, they should have a pretty good handle on it.
Yeah, the
As
third
far
one
as their
should be-
internal review process as well, and say, now we just gotta check the A, B, and C instead of, you know, every freaking page of the document. So, they should have
Yeah,
a certain
they should
comfort
be fairly well
level doing
versed.
their third one.
And it's all current in your head as well, so that's another thing.
When we get the audit, you'll thoroughly have reviewed it, right? Because this is ultimately the JIF's responsibility, is these
That
numbers,
is-
not the
that's
auditor. So
correct.
if something's transposed or wrong, it's our responsibility, not
Yes.
them, so, all right, that's good.
And even if you just see something that, you know, like kind of like, what is that?
Yeah,
You know, it doesn't make sense there, it looks weird or,
Mhm.
you know.
okay, that's good.
Joe, did you have a comment?
For me?
Yes.
Just that, just when I talked to Patty this morning, her review was just going to be making sure that ticking off the numbers from the back schedules to the balance sheet. That was going to be a fairly quick, you know, review at her level. It's the level past that where it has to go through their quality control and then their partner stuff too. And I don't think they generally do number review. I think it's more where the process is followed, you know, to make sure that the audit was done properly, that they do enough testing, you know, that sort of thing. So Patty does the back schedules agreed to the front, and then it gets handed up the chain just to make sure that they don't have any exposure as an audit firm in terms of process. And I guess for them, that, you know, whatever their protection, you know, protocols are, puts them out a few more weeks. But I think we could probably think about scheduling a special meeting instead of waiting till the 4th week in April. You know, if we go, maybe we get lucky and it's the 1st week in April. We have a special meeting just to accept the audit. And we don't feel like we're having to wait another 6 weeks. Because we always seem to think in terms of when our meeting dates are, right? But we've shown we have the capability of pulling together a meeting very quickly to handle certain situations, and this is obviously an important one. So I think, you know, we're just at the end of February now, so I think thinking about scheduling a meeting in early April to accept the audit is probably something I think that's doable in my mind.
Yeah, but Joe, what I would say is just based on today is February 28th. We're not gonna get the document to the 8th. Then they want 2 weeks to look at it. We need to look at it first. We're 4 weeks, right there.
But that doesn't put you at the end of April, it puts you the 1st or 2nd week.
Yeah, tight. That's assuming everything.
We'll see where we are,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
as the process moves along, Joe.
Yeah, we'll see where we are. Right. cut, that's my 2 cents.
That's all right, thank you much for the clarification. Anyway, Glenn, I think this will have the order.
Yes, also, Chair, in the package is the loss history report that, I got it. Broken down by coverage line, and this is a report that Barbara is going to expand upon as far as her financial fast track. But to give you loss runs, per line, automobile 2024, you're at 3 claims for 7,000, 23, 42 claims for 227. 2024, liability of 1 claim for 2,500. GL, we haven't gotten any claims for 24 yet. 23, 576,000. Property, 2 claims, 10,000. 2023, 104,248. Workers' comp, again, 26 claims and 24 for 38,927. 2023, 144 claims for 709. And just to highlight, take a look at the workers' comp down in 2021, which is the driver there. So,
And I think the property as well.
the property, yeah, but again, that's related to items. So. Also, status of the collection of the deficit.
Add something
Go
to
ahead.
the report. But to that first report, it shows 2,900 claims of total claims. So what we did is we also ran the number of open claims just to kind of get an idea of how much historical stuff we have open from a total claim. So is it 1 claim for 300,000, or is it 20 claims that equal 300,000 from a reserving standpoint? And out of the 2,900 claims, there's 413 that are open. So it's a sizable number. But also in a good way, out of 2,900, only 413 are open. So there is, obviously a lot of closure. On the comp side, you have 4 years that you have every year actually that you have claims open, and I showed 22 and 21 have a decent amount of reserves. So those are more current years, so we need to really kind of push that, but we have it now tracked for the older, and we'll start to add. I went back to 2018, so we'll have to kind of populate the oldest years as we can, and it's just kind of a snapshot of, you can track how we're closing claims from month to month, quarter to quarter, just to see, and where we need to put our concentration from that 2020 back group of years. So, just more financial stuff. Isn't this exciting? People are looking at me.
Also, update on the status of the deficit collection. Bradley Beach check did come in January, so they paid. We continue to, and I believe Mr. Zanga dropped his check off today. Thank you very much.
The way I can get it.
Extra credit.
I had to pay Glenn to
That's
get in the door.
serious extra credit.
All the billings are out with respects to the deficit, so it's due in March, so that should start rolling accordingly. And been working with Scott and Leon with respects to those who have been dragging their feet, and he has been making some headway. I don't know if you want to chime in now, Scott, or save it for close.
I think we should save it for close right now, and then see whether there is be appropriate to discuss in open session.
Also, I included a claim payment report, and this is something we've been tracking, a report that lists all 2023 claim payments for the years 2000 to 2020. This is with respects to the deficit years, which I broke down by member, highlighting those members who were paying or in a payment plan. But this is a gross number, total claims paid in 23 of $755,000. And then I gave you another report which breaks it down further by the deficit amount and how much has been collected against the deficit. This does not include the 2022 number or Bradley John here. I think I posted Bradley Beach in there, so they're in here now. But interestingly, although the gross claim payments of $5,755,000 that were paid out in 2023, if I ran another report that against recoveries that we received in, not associated with assessments, and that report came in significantly less, although it's skewed. It's almost $2,129,000 in total payments. But again, it was an excess recovery that we collected, hasn't been paid out yet. It'll be paid out in 2024 for the Board of Ed. So, but net claim payments in 2023 of $2,192,000, which substantially dropped down that $5,700,000.
But I think if you look at those two right-hand columns, you see the deficit, right? And then you see what they paid.
Yes.
So you see that there are members paying, and,
Can you just take us through slowly, just the reports so we understand how to read them, just for the political scientists in the room?
Okay. The report, basically, these are claim payments actually made in 2023, checks written, sent out the door, broken down by member.
Which one, I have three reports on, but this is the first one, or where do we start?
You start with the first one,
Which is the last page in the,
yeah, one does it by line of coverage,
One,
and
okay.
one's doing it by year.
by year.
Okay.
So I did it by line of coverage,
That's the first page.
first page.
Do I have that?
We go to the next one after that,
Yeah,
right there, that should be by line of
okay.
coverage.
All right.
I got the towns on the left.
The towns on the left, these are all
Top says 2023 claim payments.
Right, then
correct.
you see AL, ELL, GL,
Gotcha.
law.
Okay.
So that's
Thank
the coverage amount, coverage
Right, I see that, good.
claims being paid against that coverage line, and then the total of total claim payments.
And this is regardless of the year that the claim is for.
This is
It's just
inclusive
line of
from-
coverage.
Okay,
2020 prior, so this does not include 2021 claims or 2022 claims after the, the deficit years that we were trying to
and we
close.
paid out 5.755 in 2023 in support of those years?
Yes.
Thank you.
By line of coverage.
Okay,
Then the next one breaks that number down by fund year.
I see. I see.
So you see there's heavier activity in the most recent years that just ended versus way back.
Correct.
But you see the 5.7.
Ties
So
out.
you'll notice we're still paying comp claims going back to 92.
Right,
I mean,
right. Okay. And then the next one.
The third spreadsheet. There's the two regular columns.
the third spreadsheet, we added the two columns for the DOBI adjusted deficit numbers after their review, what each member's total deficit contribution is towards that deficit, and then what they paid so far is next to it.
This is very helpful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is the one of the things I think you brought up in one of your emails. Trying to get some relationship between those that are on a payment plan or those that aren't acknowledging anything and what are we paying for them.
Well, I think it does.
And that could be helpful for even
I think
Scott.
it's an illustration, it's a starting point for us to understand our obligations to everybody, and then we can weigh that against our obligations to pay these claims. And in the aggregate, they're just giant numbers, but this is very helpful, so thank you.
It's good, and we can discuss it further in close when Scott brings up a couple of other issues regarding tracking down members, so.
Okay.
so, this is a rhetorical question at this point. These, this packet is a public record. should we be sharing this last number, this last sheet specifically, with with all of the former members when we send out the invoices so they can see where things stand? I think it requires some analysis. We need to make sure we're not showing like $12 in claims and $1 million in deficits. But I think for a lot of this, it shows that there were claims for towns that aren't paying, and maybe that's an indication that you're still getting stuff here and you need to step up.
It's our obligations, so, yeah, any way we can help maybe people understand that better, it's helpful.
You know, anything we can use to get things moving along.
Glenn, you finished?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so we're waiting for, I think Joe is up.
Joe, your report was included in the package if you wanted to hit upon it, and plus you had some unwritten.
Okay, thank you. So, in terms of what Barbara alluded to earlier, I think until we get the monthly financials in the way that Barbara and I would like to present them, that for the time being, I'm just going to use the information from my current GL report only on the current 1 year activity and balance. And then once Barbara's and I are up to speed with using her platform, then we're going to probably basically enter all the information for 24 again in some fashion and produce the monthly report the way Barbara would like and the way probably the board would like. So just the report, the one sheet that Glenn sent around this morning just shows our adopted budget, which I caution, possibly has to at some point be amended because I think our originally adopted budget of $8.98 million included Middletown as a member. I think it was before the award of Barbara's firm's contract as the ED. So through February 28th, that includes the bill list that's next up on the agenda. We paid $1,662,000 of expenses. The majority of that is premiums, obviously. We paid no claims for the 2024 fund year. I know Glenn reported some, but those were just reported. But we haven't made any actual payments against any 24 claims. So as you would expect at this point in the year, we're doing great. In terms of our various receivables, I was going to send a report that talked about all the receivables we have, but my spreadsheet is kind of convoluted. We really wouldn't print well, so it's better if I just explain, where we're at. Our deficit assessment, as you all know, is our big talking point. We've collected 2 payments so far this year. I guess I haven't got the one from South River yet, but we got Bradley Beach, as Glenn alluded to. We got a payment from Middletown for their 1/7 payment. In terms of supplemental assessment for 2021, the one that you recall was $2,097,000, our original assessment. We're still expecting at some point more than $750,000 in payments from, at this point I'll just call them delinquent payers. And everybody else is paid in terms of their 2024 regular assessment that was billed and that was due by January 15th. So in that respect, we're doing well. I think the audit, is much closer to the finish line than I thought. Getting that balance sheet this morning was very helpful. I've gone through even while we've been talking and made some notes that I need to talk to Patty about. That's it.
Thank you, Joe.
Question, comment for Joe?
Yes.
Joe, I heard previously with you and Barbara's discussions about migrating the software and the data, and I commend the whole team for doing that in a thoughtful way and for better reporting. So thank you to your openness and to the team for moving forward.
You're welcome. Thank you.
at this point, Mr. Cote, is safety and loss control.
Next up should be your buildings.
Yeah.
I thought you were finished, Joe.
So I'm finished in terms of the report. My name's next to it, so.
Go ahead.
I produced the check.
You'd have our money if we don't do this.
Produced the checks yesterday. You know, it's difficult to make things snide come back the way I'm used to when I can't see anybody. I'll have to make an appointment.
You're holding your own, Joe, don't worry.
We like it that way, Joe.
I'll make an appointment to come to the next meeting.
That's okay.
And I'll get there before, if the meeting is the parking authority again, I guarantee I'll get there before Michael, even though he's working.
All right, the bill list on the list.
The bill list. Go ahead.
I'll make a
Bill
motion
list.
to approve it.
Joe?
Yeah.
Second.
Frank? Commissioner Polino?
Yes.
Commissioner Drulis?
Yes.
Commissioner Zanga?
Yes.
Commissioner Delgado?
Yes. So we can say now that we're officially done with Joe?
Thank you.
All right, so, safety and loss control, Mr. Cote.
We had no training scheduled in January or February of this year. You should all have received a document an email from the PIASH, Department of Labor, for the Right to Know survey. We will begin scheduling your Right to Know surveys in the next week, now that they've opened the files. And I posted in one of the documents that you received about the PIASH 5-year strategic plan, to give you an idea where PIASH is going to be going with this. There's been a slight deviation from their plan, and that is because of some serious accidents in non-member facilities. PIASH is going back to take a more serious look at the water and wastewater facilities, which was the #1 target of the last 5 years. And because of COVID, they really didn't do a good job of getting out to review these people. But as a result of fatalities and serious accidents, they are going to modify. So you should expect not only from the fire departments, but also your water, wastewater facilities to receive a visit from PIASH. The clients that we have that have received the inspections from the various groups include not only the safety and health people, but something we've never seen before, which is the boiler people. They're also out on the street looking for penalties. So you may want to take a look at your, if you have any applicable boilers, black seals, blue seals, reds, gold, whatever, you may want to make sure that you have appropriate coverage. The penalties are pretty automatic. One group was $2,000 simply because the boiler operator was not there during the time that the inspector was, and there's only a slight deviation that you're allowed not to have coverage for a low pressure or a high pressure boiler of significant size being more than 499 horsepower, or 499 square feet, more than 100 horsepower. Okay, so you may want to just deal with your maintenance people and make sure that you're fully covered. They also charge you for the inspection, by the way, and the inspection cost in this particular case was $1,700.
That's an OSHA cost?
There's a
Because Chuck comes, and why I'm asking the question, because Chuck comes out to everybody and does a boiler inspection.
Well,
is this more in depth than what they're doing? Or?
Well, actually, it could be a part of it in the sense that maybe when they come out and they take a look at what's going on, to make sure that they discuss with the client what their responsibilities are as far as the boiler is concerned. Okay, because in this particular case, the client that got hit for the penalty was inspected by Chuck, and they thought that as a result of that, they were fully covered, whatever. The issue is that a lot of times, you know, as management changes and personnel change, some of the coverages that are required by law fall by the wayside. And in this particular case, the employee needed more assistance in the coverage in case he's out sick or lunch or whatever. They had 5 other licensed operators, but no one had ever told them specifically when this guy is out, we expect you to jump in, something that fell by the wayside and created a problem for him.
So it's more of a policy statement to have.
If you have the coverage, it would be a policy statement that you want to have available to tell the maintenance department, whoever's responsible for your heating and ventilation system, that they, number one, need to have adequate coverage, and they need to have the other things that they got fined for, where their logs were not up to date. One of them did not have a log, and that their required maintenance was not being properly documented, if it was being conducted at all. If it's not documented, it wasn't conducted as far as PIASH is concerned. No paperwork, no taking, no washing type thing.
Okay.
We've been contacted by the Borough of Carteret. We've given them a couple of dates. They require some confined space entry training. They asked for a list of the other training that they should be taking a look at. We gave them a list. We haven't heard back from them. The Borough of South River has scheduled bloodborne pathogens, flagger, lockout, tagout, trenching and shoring, and PPE in March, and full protection ladder safety in April. Adriano is pretty quick about what he needs and what he needs.
He's good.
The city of New Brunswick has asked for AED training. We just received approval from the JIF to conduct 2 sessions for certified AED training, and Brendan Goldberg said he'd get back to us when and where, mutually convenient times to go ahead and do that. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is, at some point, and maybe the best thing to do is just send out a memo through the JIF to make sure that your supervision is aware of what is required of them, what is expected of them in case of a PIASH inspection, certain number of documents that they should have available. So maybe I'll include that in
Put that in
instead of doing it
separately
separately.
to everybody.
Yeah, include it, because the issue right now is that they have a lot of new people at PIASH, and it's a good idea if you're prepared for them, if you know what's needed, if you know what they're going to ask you, things tend to go a little bit better than if when they show up, you don't even know who to ask for these things. So a little bit of preparation. And the second thing is, you may want to make sure that receptionists, people in various areas, know if a PIASH inspector shows up, whom to direct that person to. That also makes a big difference. Okay? That is all, unless you have any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Gutierrez?
Question? Wait for the coffee to finish, I heard the whole thing. Keurig take a while to warm up. Is it possible that, and you may do this, that we can get some kind of written report? I mean, this is all very important information. And then that way we can bring it back to our risk managers who are here anyway, and we can work through these matters.
When you say a written report, what specific?
Summary of what you just said, a couple, so we can take that as a checklist and bring
Yeah,
it
I'm
back
going
to
to
the city
include
hall.
that I'm going to include that in the minutes.
That's-
You know, what we give back to Glenn.
So that'll be in the minutes then?
Yeah.
No, when he puts the memo together, I'll
Okay.
circulate. And he put a brief memo together of what, the right-to-know surveys, and I believe with respect to what to expect.
This stuff you talk about is so important.
Yeah.
Sometimes just be able to go back and distribute it to the people in my operation, so thank you.
Absolutely.
You talk about turnover, and that's absolutely right. So if you would include a list of the available training with the days, you know, like we've had in the past, I'd be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I overheard someone saying that Donna wasn't here, she's not here.
Yeah, the report's in the agenda
Yeah,
package.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, the numbers pretty much tell the story, so,
Yeah, one of the things that we'll work on with the report too is, if you see January, there's the number of bills and in network and out of network. One of the things that I like to do is to take a look at those bills, so the 152, what years did they generate from? Because these are the bills that flowed into their system in January. It could be for a multitude of fund years. So again, it's kind of nice to see things and how they relate back to the year in which they're related. Not the month and year that they just happen to get processed.
that would be a great addition, thank you. Anything else concerning the blood care? That said, I don't see Jonathan here either, I don't think Jonathan made it.
His last press release was in the original packets that went around to everybody
Yeah, it's included here.
with respect to the JIF and its relationship with Barbara. Harry, myself, also had a conference call with him and his IT guy with respects to looking at the JIF's website, updating it, bringing it up to speed and across, or usable across all platforms. I sent him, because they were talking about taking a lot of stuff off there, I said, hold on, there's stuff that Adobe requires to be up there that we have to maintain. So I'll be working with them in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think what we may want to discuss with the group too is those items, there's mandated requirements and then there's optional. And it's optional based on what you want to put up and where you want to put it up, and I think that's going to require a brief conversation.
Yeah, we gave him an idea yesterday. I was very pleased after the meeting. We gave him an idea yesterday, basically what was required to have. But we also gave him the okay for them to prepare a mock for us, to start from scratch literally, because one of the things that the website doesn't do is not, it cannot be viewed the same on a tablet or a phone. So we hope to achieve that. And it will have a lot of functionality, be user friendly, it'll have more information. It's just because it will be maintained, and updated frequently. I mean, right now, we don't have the staff to do that, but Jonathan committed to do that much. He said that perhaps in, 4 weeks, I think it was, he would have at least a mock to present in terms of functionality. It wouldn't really go into the details of what should be there or shouldn't be there, as we're required by Adobe, but at least the image, okay? To see how we move forward in terms of how we present the group. The JIF.
And then you need to make it for people hearing impaired and all that it
Right.
can be read, and ADA compliance.
I was
Harry
really
wanted a
pleased with
picture of
it
this
yesterday.
wonderful building up there.
Well, I did not say that. But anyway, they're very thorough. I mean, they were even concerned about, the color and the color scheme and all those things. Yeah, I'm more for substance, but we agree on the colors.
I just want to hit that right thing with the drop down on my phone. I can never see that.
You're right, but we will do that. I mean, you're absolutely right. Just, he was kind when he shared with us that websites no longer, are no longer like that. I mean, that one has been sitting there, pretty much static.
Plus, they'll be able to program it where if somebody searches a keyword, this website will jump to the top of the search engine list. So.
Like, for instance, where does the shore start in Carteret? So you could actually get that. That's true. You can put that out there. You missed that. We had to take a note later about it. But anyway, so it was a great meeting, and I think I'm looking forward to what they're going to present us. But you're right, Barbara. I mean, we have to make sure that we give them the information that needs to be there to move forward. All right. With that, the agenda brings us to old business. Any old business?
Nothing new here, Chair, or nothing old.
I hear no old business. Any new business? All right. This will bring about an opportunity for public comment. Any public comment? Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Charlie Cradaville, New Brunswick Today. Good to be with you in person. Many fond memories in this room here, and I'm happy to be with you today. I was going to ask, I know you've offered some of your professionals the chance to call into the meeting. Is remote access something that the public can look forward to in future meetings of this board?
I'd say this is fluid, Charlie, so we have to see. I mean, this is the first time, as I said, I'm very pleased. I said that at the top of the agenda, that we at least getting together. So let's see how that works, and then we'll see how we need to expand, opportunities for others to participate in the meeting. But this is in person. I think it's been so far, perhaps you would even agree, great success.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to be here, and yeah, appreciate your hospitality. I did want to talk about the website briefly, and so I'm so glad to hear that the commissioners are aware that it's not mobile friendly and not modern site, and I'm glad that the JIF is going to address that hopefully very soon. One piece of information I would like to see on the site, maybe it is on the site but I can't find it, would be contact information for the executive director. So if I could ask right here, what is the best email address or phone number to reach the executive director?
Why don't we direct that to the executive director, because in terms of the website, obviously, that's on the development. On the construction, I think it's the problem.
Yes.
I'll give it to you before.
Okay, good enough. I did hear some talk about press releases, and so I just wanted to ask, with the, whoever is sending those out, be sure to include editor@newbrunswicktoday.com on the list and send them to us. Great. Any update on members? I didn't hear anything on new members joining, so I guess we're still with the same group. Any prospects or changes in the works?
Not at this time, Charlie.
Okay. And
We're hunting now.
okay. And forgive me, I missed it in the introductions, but I just wanted to get the name of the New Brunswick risk manager and the firm that you're with.
It's Karen Myers. Acrisure.
Acrisure. Okay, thank you. And then two other matters to address. So one is the case of the New Brunswick councilman that we've talked about many times. Just want to ask if there's any update on that, or is the cap still the same and the status still the same?
The response is the same as it was last month.
Okay.
No change. So there's no change.
Okay. And then the other topic that I wanted to bring up, and maybe I'll ask first a question. What are the policies around driving privileges for public vehicles? So does the JIF require its members to have any kind of check of a driving record or any kind of pre-clearance before somebody gets the keys to drive around a municipal vehicle?
Annually, we do a driver check, Charlie, and on new hires, the members will send us to ask for a driver check, which we run.
Okay, great. I mean, I recall the first time I ever came to a JIF meeting was to bring up this issue, and it was in Old Bridge, and I'm glad that something came out of that.
They'll run,
and so it's good that there's a check, and so just to clarify, the check would be for all licensed operators, or all people who are going to be able to drive the vehicle, who are on the payroll as of whatever snapshot of the year. Everybody would be checked again, even if they've driven before and had the pass before. Okay.
If I have their information, they're checked.
Got it. Thank you. And the other piece is policies around crashes involving public vehicles. Are there any specific policies that you have other than just complying with the police investigation and
Don't do it.
Policy is try not to.
Yeah, avoid at all costs. But is there any special?
We have a sample policy, but any policy would be adopted by the individual member. So.
Okay.
A question for Mr. Kurtz, if you don't mind. This is an insurance offering for automobiles, right? Is it typical, and I don't really know insurance besides what I've learned in this group, is it typical that like a State Farm or another insurance company would have these list of mandates that I believe Mr. Credible was asking about to maintain insurance? That's what I'm gathering, but I don't want to speak for Mr. Credible.
Yeah, if you're a policyholder with a commercial carrier, they'll do a driver check on you, correct?
Abstract. They usually do the abstract.
The abstract, yeah.
So on an annual basis for everybody, because that's what I heard him ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do it.
Got it. Okay, and I want the board to know and everyone listening to know the reason I'm asking about this is the New Brunswick Fire Director. He had permission to operate city vehicles. It was suspended by the city in May of 2014 after a crash, and that crash he did plead guilty to a motor vehicle violation, was fined. The suspension of his city driving privileges was lifted in February of 2017. And within a few months, he was involved in another crash involving a city vehicle. City took the position it was not his fault, even though the other driver said it was. And that crash was reportedly the 20th of his driving career, and at least the 13th since he became the fire director. Many of these crashes involved city vehicles. Some have led to claims against the city. I know one was being litigated as recently as last year. And despite all this, the fire director was permitted to continue operating city vehicles after that crash in 2017. On January 9th of this year, a woman was hospitalized after the fire director crashed into her vehicle and then into a tree on the side of the road on Route 130 in North Brunswick. At the time, the director was driving a different vehicle than the one he normally drives. I've asked the city government to confirm if the vehicle the director normally drives, was also involved in a recent crash, because I had heard from someone that it was, and I was...
With me and Jen, or with Mr. Cradaville, I don't think he's gonna get answers to all of those questions today, but you can ask.
Yeah, I was actually just making statements, but I will lead up to a question, and that's my final comment today. It's just, you know, I wasn't able to get a straight answer on whether there was another crash involving the same driver in recent months. I wanted to ask if anybody on the board has an answer, and if anything's being done about this. I understand that the director is now, again, not allowed to operate city vehicles, but it's unclear when that change happened, and you know, it's unclear, you know, how many vehicles have been crashed in recent months, and I think that we should all wrap our heads around this and find a way to, you know, stop this from happening, since it is a liability issue for everyone here.
Well, I'll take that as a statement. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Any other members of the public? I don't think I see anybody. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to entertain a motion to go into closed session, and then we shall return after we finish with a closed session back to public session. So a motion before I kick people out of the room.
Motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So all those in favor, go ahead, Brian.
Commissioner Bellino,
Yes.
Commissioner Drulis,
Yes.
Commissioner Zanga.
Yes.
And Commissioner Delgado.
Yes.
Can you stay for a moment? Is that okay?
Liam, I give you the power to decide who stays and who goes. I know Mr. Cradaville's got to go, so. He's been very kind today, so I'm pleased.
Charlie, how do you make